Good afternoon, everyone. Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video. It's been a while. I've had a hangover for the last 2 days, but I am back over it, and we are ready to get into producing regular content on the game that we are all looking forward to playing this year. Yes, that's right, no more next year stuff now. It's all happening this year. So I'm going to go over a couple of little things that were dropped during the festive period, and then going to comment on the latest podcast episode that was with a fellow content creator, Vex. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So if we come over to the Fateless Discord, they do have an announcement sort of channel where Simon will drop some of his leaks. You've also got the poker tournament stuff. You'll also see I won the Create a Christmas Carol concert. Yay me! But there were two things in particular that were fairly interesting over the festive period, but weren't sort of big enough, I suppose, to do a video all on their own. On Christmas Day, we got this animation. So it is of some dude twirling his spear around, giving it the kind of, come get it, that cheeky stuff. There, see ya, bring it on. And then we have a spin and a strike. Now, this is all we have. There is no way on earth that we could possibly know who this is. However, I had a hunch that maybe it might be someone from the Jade faction that we've not seen, but it could be someone like a Guan Yu. So if I pop over to my own little website I've got going, Guan Yu, we can see he's got the long beard, okay, which matches what we have in the animation. And what I've cut out of here, just so it wasn't too big, was the weapon. He was shown with maybe it was more like a halberd rather than a spear. But that's my thinking, that perhaps this animation could be Guan Yu, maybe. So I could be completely wrong, but still cool to see nonetheless. So the other thing that was shown to us on New Year was this image. First leak of the year. Happy New Year. Really cool looking art piece. Now, in amongst some negativity in the Discord general, let's say, Rachel got in on the leaking side and confirmed who it was. I'm just going to put up this screenshot just so we hide the person's name. But she said, Lady Zoc was created by one of our fabulous artists, and that it's not AI art, that was an actual drawing. Which means if we come back to the announcement, this is Lady Zoc. Which is cool. So Lady Zoc is a Mayan rare. He was queen of one of the largest city-states way back when. If we think back to something that Dirk dropped a couple of weeks ago, which I'm 100% sure now he probably wasn't supposed to, about the inference system, we might not want Lady Zoc, but we might want something that she has. And I think I've figured it out. It is these killer earrings and crown with the headdress. Like, I'd want one of those. I think it looks quite comfortable. I think it would suit me. So that is what I can assume Dirk meant. So, with all of that said and done, we then come to the podcast. Now, as usual, I'm not going to play the entire thing. I will leave a link to it in the description down below. I'm also going to put a link to Vex's channel as well, so you can go check him out if you want to. Yeah, on top of this, I will also put some of my thoughts on a web post on the website, in case you don't want to listen to my ramblings now, and if you'd rather just read it, that's absolutely fine too. So we're going to pause this here. I'm going to grab the headphones. We'll listen to maybe a 5 to 7 minute segment, and then I will give my thoughts on it.
I guess we should spin it over to you, Vex. Like, what have you got any burning questions that you'd like to kind of ask, or any kind of like feedback, feelings from stuff that you've seen so far that you'd like to kind of talk through.
But as far as wish lists, I think the roguelike potential, or the sort of normalized mode that's sort of been talked about loosely here and there, I think is the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest make or break for Godforge. I think, as somebody who played a lot and still plays a lot of Magic the Gathering, the aspect of drafting characters and coming to a familiar space with an unfamiliar set of tools and using my brain to sort of figure out a way through to victory, I think is the
This is an interesting
the
topic,
appeal.
honestly, because we've been a bit back and forth internally on this one, right? So I have a similar view to you in terms of, I think this will be a super fun mode. You've got the ability to play with characters that you've never used before, or just craft these kind of like awesome combos, or even hope that the awesome combo drops for you in this draft session to the first piece you've bought. Like there's all these different elements to it. But there's kind of like another point of view in the team where it's more angled at, hold on a minute, it doesn't reflect my account, and therefore it's like, hold on, are we building two separate games here? Like it should be more based on my account.
Sure.
So we kind of got this like back and forth, and then if it's not based on my account, how does it kind of like really fit into my core loop of gameplay? Is it almost just like this bolt-on thing on the side that you don't have to do, therefore it won't be done a lot?
Sure.
So there's a real different opinions on whether it's going to be like a hit or a miss. Like I'm well in the hit camp, but I'm definitely not. There's other points of view as well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like if you play with a character, if Thor comes in and you're really liking Thor, but your personal account doesn't have Thor, and then Thor comes around and has like a higher chance to get him out of shards or whatever, are you then more inclined to spend money or to spend your saved pulls to try to get him because you've been playing with him for so long and now you get to have your own? Or there's a little bit of a feel bad there. I think Arc Knights does this particularly well. That's a Watcher of Realms style tower defense, just with like an anime skin on it. They have a roguelike that has seasons. The seasons are pretty long, and you can still play previous seasons if you missed out on the rewards. But the roguelike is essentially just the paths and the stages that you play on, and you recruit characters from your own roster as you go. So that way you're never playing with characters
Are they
you don't
normalized
have.
characters, like the stats, or are they literally your characters?
They're literally your characters.
Okay.
There's a couple of ways to get characters that are normalized that you don't have. And those are sort of like the lightning strikes, and you get good luck, and you're like, oh yes, I can go recruit this like super powerful character I don't have to help me through the rest of this run.
But so it's not a normalized PvP, is what you're saying?
No,
or
it's just
PvE,
like
sorry, roguelike.
more on the roguelike side.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference out of the two? If it was your account versus random drafting?
I think for the style of game that Godforge is going for, I think drafting would be my personal opinion, and normalized. And
Yeah.
maybe there's some roguelike stuff. I think in a couple previous podcasts, it's been talked that like, what if you get in this run, your characters get plus 5% attack in this way or something like that. It's just sort of buffs and debuffs.
We got some creative stuff go on the roguelike end. The question mark is around like what is the normalized. What does it exactly look like, and how does that work?
Yeah. Should it start with like? Should you start with one of your heroes and then you draft in, or should it be a complete draft of random heroes that you don't own, or should it literally be you've got a chance for it to drop your heroes, but it's that's the round, like that's where a lot of the topics going through. And
the reason I tend to agree with like Simon is that like it's more likely to be a hit is because I like just playing all the games that I've ever done. I don't remember a normalized PvP or a roguelike type scenario that made the game worse. I don't remember an example of that.
Right.
Like Hearthstone in the arena or AFK Journey with Honor Duel
Made it a
or
lot better, honestly.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember a single case where it was like, oh, this game would have been a lot better without that.
So
Yeah, no, it has to have the tension, like the tension of starting a Hearthstone arena, and you're like,
Yeah.
I might only win one game, or oh my god, I won 9. Like,
Yeah.
you have to
Have
have
you ever
that
been like
tension.
halfway through your picks on Hearthstone Arena and you're like, I already want to get to the
You're
next
like,
one.
can I get this thing over with? Like, just move on.
It's just like, what is this trap? Like, I've gone in a direction, now it's trying to offer me a different direction. None of it's making any sense. I know I'm not winning any battles with this. Just like, move
Yeah.
me on.
Just move on. Just shoot me now. Like, get
But
it over, get it out of the way.
I actually love the draft in it. Like, almost as much as I enjoy the playing side of it, the draft is a lot of fun. Because you're like, oh, I've got to get these combos. Have I got a really good sort of balanced deck? What type of deck am I trying to achieve here? I actually really find that side of it fun.
Yeah, like
Um,
that part's always the most fun. Like why do people play fantasy football? It's meeting up with your
right.
friends and having a draft, and you got a big draft board, and like, okay, how do I value this player? Like that's always the most fun. So I agree.
But the argument is valid. Like, if you think about a player has a limited amount of time and resource and energy and excitement to play your game. So if you tell them, okay, go spend all your time on this mode that is normalized, that doesn't have any connection to your account, then why build my account? That's the question mark, right? And
Well, no,
why
you can give
spend resources
rewards.
another part?
right, you can give
Well,
rewards.
I'm not. This is devil's advocate, right? Because I actually think this is a great idea. But I get where you can limit it. There's all kinds of ways you can fix this, right? You can limit it so that there's only a certain number of keys or whatever. But I mean, it's a valid point, like to really consider, like how I think if it's not integrated well into the core loop, and I think that we will have to build a system where it is, where it's a part of it. I think it's going to be a hard sell, especially for early on, for early days, where it's like we really want people to be building their accounts up, really getting and understanding why our game is super fun and why the core loop is exciting and something that keeps me coming back and that type of stuff. But yeah, I would love to hear, Vex, what you think about it, man.
So I've thought about this quite a bit, and I've said it a couple times that I think that this is not a on launch feature. I think this is something that can be hyped up through in-game events or social media or things like 3 or 6 months after launch, as a something like to look forward to. Like you spend the first part of launch like building your account, learning the characters, learning the game, and then this new feature comes out, and it's not something that demands all of your time, but it is something that you can sink your time into, something that you do get rewards out of, and it could just be simply like, gems or extra energy or whatever. But I think back to my gripes with energy, and it's just sort of like I want to play your game more, and if there is a mode where I can sink time into, I don't have to worry. I can use all my energy. I can do my dailies. I can do that, and then I can swap to
Yeah.
drafting or playing a normalized mode or something.
But one thing I think we've now appreciated, I guess, is that there won't be normalized PvP and a normalized roguelike on launch. We want to do one of them, and we think it's probably going to be the roguelike over the PvP because we have a couple of other PvP modes, but there won't be both of them on launch. And one of them will definitely come a bit further down the line, just because both of them, they've got a lot of kind of like systems which sit outside of kind of like core gameplay, and it's just a lot of dead time, honestly. So we're kind of like, it's going to be one or the other for launch, because it does come a point. So we've got this whole laundry list of features that we want to launch with, and like what other stuff which we've enjoyed in other games and that type of thing, and it gets to a point where you're like, right, we've now got to cull that down, and then we've already got our first year plus, honestly, of live ops ideas of when would we like to drop different things to, because you obviously need to keep interest and new stuff coming into the game and that as well. So
Okay, so that whole conversation was a little bit longer than the 5 to 7 minutes I quoted. I will try and cut out some of the, not crap, but I guess things that aren't necessarily a part of the topic of a roguelike. Now, I do agree with Vex in that I do think this roguelike normalized PvE mode is arguably the single most important thing about Godforge. The reason for it is currently there is nothing new out there that has this mode. Raid doesn't have it. Dragonair certainly didn't have it. Now, I haven't played every game in the world, but I can't think of one that immediately strikes or comes to my head. Except for one game, which I think implemented this sort of thing very well. And I think Fateless and the Godforge team should follow this example, because I think it gets round a few different things about, how does it work with your account, drafting, the randomized thing as well. I think it gets around a lot of that. Now, I'm not saying this is the answer, but yeah, I think it is a good angle to go down. So let's take a look. So the screenshot I have put up here is of AFK Arena's Labyrinth mode. I have played quite a few games with a mode similar to this. Heck, even Tribal Wars, which is a 20-year-old browser game that I've played for years, has something similar to this in one of their events. Now, this is some sort of labyrinth tower game. There were 3 floors, okay? And this is how I would do it if I was Fateless. So the way that I would start off is you pick your 4 or 5 heroes, whoever it is that you've got, okay? And each floor has a level of difficulty. So floor 1 might be level 40 opponents, floor 2 might be level 50, floor 3, the final floor, would be level 60 opponents. Which means you can still have this on launch and only have it unlock when a player reaches a certain level, when they've got maybe 3 or 4 heroes that are level 40, so then they're not just going to go in here and die straight away, okay? So you pick your 4 heroes. I've got my 4, I start here. This floor you have a battle against a random team, whoever it might be, alright? Then you move to the next floor. They will gain a portion of their health back, but not all of it, to fight again. And this is where the drafting part also comes in. Then, for example, the path branches off. So if I was to click this stagecoach, that is where I would get the opportunity to draft a new hero. This is where it would be random. So it could be Thor, it could be Odin, could be, a number of people. And you would like to think that perhaps they can do something in the game where whoever you select at the beginning, like if it's Olympians, it will offer you Olympian heroes, or at least one at a minimum. If you were to click this brown banner, you would come up against some regular enemies, and you do get some rewards. Now, that reward could be XP for the heroes that you are using that are your own. This would be a nice way of being able to still level and play the game, even when you're out of energy. Now, you could obviously drop the XP amount right down, so they don't use this as a different route to farming, whatever the XP farming they're going to be doing. So maybe, let's say, you get 100 XP for doing 1 level. In here, actually, you're only getting 1 XP, but because you can just do it over and over and over again with multiple floors, it sort of makes up for that. So that's one thing you could do. You could also put energy as a reward, like Vex said. You could put diamonds, shards, whatever it is. If you click this red banner, you would fight a harder enemy with better rewards. And the fountain is what your heal is, okay? And the way the drafting system works is, this is floor 1, level 40, one of your heroes dies. Great, you've now got a sub that you can roll in and keep going. That is how I would implement this mode if I was the Fateless team. Now, they might already be doing that. We don't know. At the end of the floor, there was like a bigger bounty, and then you had 4 perks or bonuses that you could choose from. Some of it would be, 100% increased defense, 100% increased HP. It could be increased attack. It could be you always crit. Something like that. Bonus for Olympian-specific heroes. Okay. Then you move to floor 2, you would instantly heal. And again, you would have a number of these wagons. You would always perhaps start with one at the beginning of the floor and move on from there. you would get to a point that perhaps, especially early on, your level 40 heroes can't survive Labyrinth level 3, so that's when your fun drafting team comes together. And you can sub in and out between each floor or before each fight, and if you die, that's it. If everyone dies, runs over. I've played multiple games with a mode like this, exactly like this. Half of them don't exist anymore, though, sadly. But this is what my thought was when it came to implementing the roguelike. Another thing they could do, so how would you keep this into the core gameplay loop? So you've already got the XP for your heroes if you're using your heroes, okay? Albeit at a much lower rate. Another suggestion I made in one of the CC chats is rewards. Or something else you could do is put the next fusion hero in this tower. So at Labyrinth Floor 1, the first hero that you get as an extra will be the next fusion. Okay. This is two things. It's exciting because you can see, what the next fusion's going to be. You can test their abilities, things like that, see if it looks cool, whether he looks strong, how does he fit in with your team. It also works for Fateless because we're doing the testing then. We're doing the testing in a mode where it doesn't necessarily matter too much if it's buggy or if he doesn't hit as hard, because we don't actually have him yet. And then they can buff him or, nerf him if he's too strong. And then the last reward at the end of the floor would be 20 fragments towards that fusion. Let's say it's Poseidon, for argument's sake. So then when the fusion rolls around in 2 weeks' time, there you go. You've already got a head start. You've made it a lot easier for free-to-play players as well because they've got that head start. That's how I would do it. Now, there are some concerns, I suppose, is a good way. If the fusion isn't good, if he doesn't hit hard enough in this mode to begin with, then why are people going to want to go do the fusion? Likewise, if he's really strong in here, too strong, you've got to nerf him, people do the fusion, then they kick off. I get it. You're also spoiling the fusion a few weeks in advance. So I can see where there might be issues implementing the fusion part in there, or the boss battle, or whatever it is. But I think that would be a cool way to encourage people to play it. And again, the fact that it would still give you XP or other rewards as well, maybe even shards. As Vex said, once you're out of energy, you've done all your dailies, things like that, but there's nothing else to do. It's raining outside. You want to keep playing. You can just cycle through. And that is sort of my thoughts on that system. It's something that I really want to see. I think this is a good way of doing it. There's probably things that I have forgotten of now, but if I do remember it, I will put it in the website post that I'll do. I'll start it tonight at least. If I don't get it done till tomorrow morning, then so be it. So that is how I would do it. Fateless, if you're watching, this is how I would implement the roguelike system. Anyway, that's all from me today. The rest of the podcast, they talked about merch. Now, I love merch, and they talked about conventions as well. I love conventions. I went to 2 Magic the Gathering conventions last year. I was fortunate enough to go to Amsterdam and Las Vegas. I would love there to be a Fateless Con, or for them to go to one of these conventions at some point, like they did with... I forgot what it's called. The big one they went to Germany, Gamescom. And when it comes to merch, they were talking about, do they have T-shirts? Do they have figurines? As someone who got into Dark Fantasy through Warhammer, I love figurines. I am, what's the word? I'm a slut for visuals. So, thirsty for an aesthetic. I want big wall posters. Dice. I play D&D as well. I play Magic the Gathering still. Dice. Just cool dice. There are so many things you could do thinking outside the box. Pins, stickers, all that kind of stuff, which they do talk about. So do say be sure to go check that out. Anyway, look after yourselves. Take care. Work hard. But as always, play harder. And I'll see you in another one soon. Cheers.